Hello, everyone. This is Azren, the language nerd here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and welcome to yet another podcast episode and, of course, YouTube video. I'm continuing my series here on Azren's top language learning tips. If you haven't seen the previous videos in the series, it's pretty straightforward. I've made thousands of videos, podcasts, thousands of pieces of content over the past 7 years since 2016, sharing language learning advice. And I thought it would be a great idea to summarize the advice I've shared, all my top tips, onto a single web page. In fact, if you haven't seen the web page and you're just watching this on YouTube, or perhaps you're listening to this on a podcast and you haven't seen the web page, you're welcome to go check it out. The web page is azrenthelanguagenerd.com/top-tips. So that's AZREN thelanguagenerd.com/top-tips. If you can't remember all that, just search Azren the Language Nerd or Calgary Language Nerds. Both will work. On Google, it's the first result. Go on the web page, find the free training and resources part of the page, and you'll find it over there. Okay. Now, last time I gave you some advice on improving your speaking ability. I gave you three big pieces of advice, three important pieces of advice to improve your ability to speak in another language. One of those pieces of advice was talking about input. Input refers to listening and reading. And this video / podcast is dedicated to improving your listening and your reading ability. How do you improve your listening comprehension skills and your reading skills? What kind of material do you use? What should you be doing with that material to make the best of the time you spend on it trying to improve your listening or reading skills? Do you just watch Netflix and absorb it naturally? Do you just listen to podcasts? Do you just listen to the radio? What do you do? Well, let me give you some advice on this. The most important thing when it comes to improving your listening skills and or your reading skills is to use material that is at your level. Use material that is at your level. The logical question after that becomes, how do you know if the material you are using is at your level or not at your level? Well, let me tell you. There's a relatively simple test you can do to figure out if something is at your level or not at your level. Find a video, find a podcast, find something to read, find some material, some listening material, some audio visual material, such as a video or reading material. Depends if you're trying to work on your listening or your reading. Okay, find some material. And what you're going to do is you're going to try and consume it. Maybe consume 30 to 60 seconds. If you're reading, maybe read 200 words, 100 words, paragraph or two, something like that. Okay. And I want you to see, without using translators, without using a dictionary, without slowing the audio or video down, without using a transcript, no subtitles, nothing, just using your ears if you're listening, or just using your eyes on the reading material if you're reading. No dictionaries, nothing else. What percentage of the material do you understand? So you're watching a video, you watch a 30 to 60 second clip. What percentage did you understand? You're more than welcome to listen to it more than once if you want to listen to it 2 or 3 times to the same clip, the same 30 to 60 second clip. Totally fine. If you're reading something and you want to read it multiple times or take your time with it, no problem. But after you've done 2 or 3 repetitions of listening / reading, what percentage did you understand? Now, if something is at your level, the bare minimum that you'd want to understand of the material you selected is 50%. And even 50%, to be honest with you, it even sounds like a little bit, even sounds probably too much on the it's not at your level side of things. Maybe I should even be saying above 50% is the bare minimum. Maybe it's like 60% is the bare minimum. Even better would be something like 75, 80%, 85%, maybe even 90% could be okay. That's how you know if something is at your level. Something that when you just listen to it, watch it, read it, couple repetitions, no subtitles, no transcripts, no dictionaries, no translators, no other support materials, nothing. You just trying to consume it by yourself, using nothing but your own brain. Did you understand bare minimum over 50%? All the way up to, I would say, not 80, 90%, something like that. Then you know the material's at your level. Now, if you consume it and you understand everything, literally everything, or 99%, almost everything except for like 1 or 2 words, right? You're understanding everything and you're doing so almost effortlessly. You also know the material is not at your level. It's just too easy. It's too easy for you. So it has to be something that's challenging, but that you're able to understand at least the gist of the material, the bulk of the material, without any other resources, no dictionaries, translators, etc., etc. Okay, that's how you know if the material's at your level. So the most important thing when you're doing your listening and or your reading practice is that you're finding material at your level. And in fact, I'll be honest with you, if that's all you took away from this video and that's all you really did is you use material that was at your level and you just tried to listen to it and you just listened to material at your level for the most part, well, that's already going to be very helpful for you, and your listening abilities are very likely to start improving. Now, you found a video, you found a podcast, you found a book or a text or whatever it is. You found some material to consume. You've made sure it's at least roughly speaking at your level. You understand the gist of it, the bulk of it, but not all of it. There are parts you're a little bit confused and you don't fully follow what's happening. Okay, well, what do you do now? What's the next step? Well, there's a number of things you can do. There's lots of advice you can now start to follow as to what do you do with that material. Let me give you some very simple things that will work for most of you, if not all of you. Well, if it's a video or an audio, such as a podcast or video, let's say, some kind of video or audio material, turn the subtitles on. For example, YouTube will often have subtitles. Or if it's who knows where you found the material, but you want to turn your subtitles on or find a transcript and read the subtitles or transcript and look up unfamiliar words or phrases. Maybe there's a word or phrase and you're like, what the heck does that mean? What does that word mean? What does that phrase mean? Look it up in an online translator. One of my favorite online translators. It's relatively limited for the number of languages it's offered for, but if it offers your language, then that's great. One of my favorite translators is deepl.com. Deep as in deep water, L like the letter L, .com. That's one of my favorite online translators. One of my least favorite translators, just so you know, might come as a surprise depending on how well-versed you are with my content or how well-versed you are in the language learning world. One of my least favorite resources is Google Translate. My problem with Google Translate, my main problem with Google Translate, is that it doesn't always give accurate translations, particularly when it comes to phrases. If you put a whole sentence, it may or may not give an accurate translation. And sometimes for words, if the word can be interpreted in many ways, if the word has multiple meanings, you might not get the exact translation you're looking for. Whereas DeepL, the translator on DeepL translator, it provides far more accurate translations. It is an app as well, which is nice. DeepL is an app, so it's not just a website. You can also download the app if you prefer to use apps as opposed to a website. Okay, so when you're listening to whatever you're listening to, watching whatever you're watching, reading whatever you're reading, right? Look up the unfamiliar words. That's a very basic thing you can do that will help you to increase your vocabulary, increase the comprehension, right? That'll help. If the audio or the video you're watching does not have a transcript or does not have subtitles, well, you probably should go find something that has subtitles or that has a transcript. Make sense? Other things you may choose to do, but this is going to depend more, I would say, upon your learning preferences. Different people have different preferences as to how they want to learn. So some other things you may want to do is you may want to take some of the new words and phrases you learn and write some practice sentences with them. That might be something you want to do. You may want to make some flashcards with the words or phrases you learn. A good general tip for making flashcards, if you're going to do that, is to make them in sentences or phrases and not just the individual word. For example, if you learn the word for pen, actually I have a Duolingo pen. Not sure if you can see that. It's kind of cool. If you learn the word for pen in whatever language, well, you could just put the word pen as a flashcard. Nothing wrong with that. But even better would be if you put a little sentence with pen, maybe even multiple sentences, like 3 flashcards, 4 flashcards, 5 flashcards, all with the word pen. That will help the word pen stick in your mind much more, much faster. This is because A, when you make multiple flashcards, even the process of making the flashcard, all for the word pen, like 4 different flashcards with 4 different sentences, all with the word pen, the process of making the flashcard is going to help you remember that one word. And then when you're reviewing them, because the word is embedded in a sentence, that will be easier to remember than just remembering the one single word. So if you are going to go down the flashcard route, those are some general tips. You can make physical flashcards that you buy from a store, or you can use digital flashcards using an app such as Quizlet is one option. Quiz, like taking a quiz in school. Let, as in like L-E-T, Quizlet is one option. There are many flashcard apps. Feel free to YouTube it, Google it. Anki is another one. Anki is A-N-K-I. Feel free to do your research on whatever apps you want to use, but that is an option as well. You can, when you're doing your listening practice, if you're not the type of person who likes to write a lot of notes or make flashcards or write practice sentences or things like that, well, one thing you may want to do as well, that's another way to get, I suppose, to hear or come across the same words and phrases over and over and over, is to do a deep dive on one genre of content or one particular content creator. This is really good for intermediate learners, but can apply to beginners as well. What this means is, for instance, I'll give you a personal example here. I remember when we had the pandemic lockdowns, there is this one Singaporean, I think she's Singaporean, singer who sings songs in Mandarin, and she basically started a one-woman radio show. So she would sit, I assume it's her room or maybe it's a studio space. I don't really know what it was, but she'd sit there, low tech, no fancy mics, nothing like that. She'd go live. She would sing some songs, chat about life, sing some more songs, chat about life. And I would watch that all the time. So that's one content creator that I was constantly consuming, constantly listening to. So I would hear her use the same words over and over, the same phrases over and over. And so even though I didn't take notes listening to her, not really. Sometimes I would look up words or I had a dictionary, but mostly what I did was just listen, to be honest with you. Mostly what I did, just listen to her. And because she used the same words, same phrases, that her radio show, quote unquote, had the same format as well every single time. So I was able to start picking up all these different words and phrases just by listening. You can do the same with a particular genre. You might say, I'm going to watch a whole bunch of videos over the next 3 months or 1 month or however long, all about some hobby you have. Maybe it's all about stationery. You love stationery, for instance. You find all these stationery content, people that talk about pens and paper, whatever it is, who knows, whatever topic. And you consume content about that topic, and that's all you really consume. You go deep dive in that genre. Same thing. You're going to hear naturally because of, well, just naturally, you're going to hear a lot of the same words over and over and over and over and over. You'll hear about pens, you'll hear about paper and scissors and whatever else you hear, stickers, who knows what else you hear. You'll hear kind of the same words over and over. And so that's a way to get that vocabulary practice, which is one, I would say, benefit of doing listening and reading practice, is helping you boost your vocabulary. That's one way to do so if you're not the type of person who likes to take a lot of notes or study, quote unquote. Does that make sense? All that advice I just shared also works for reading. You can go into a reading deep dive on one topic, a reading deep dive, perhaps by one author. You can all that could probably apply, I would say, to reading as well. So let's summarize everything. Let's do a little summary here. When it comes to improving your listening ability and or your reading ability, First of all, it's important to find material that is at your level. At your level means not too hard, not too easy. Too easy would mean you understand all or basically all of what you're consuming almost effortlessly or even effortlessly. That means too easy. Too hard would mean you're understanding 50% or less of what you're consuming. That's probably too hard. The sweet spot is somewhere over 50% at the bare minimum. Let's say 60% at the bare minimum, all the way up to call it 90%. Let's say even 90%, there's a lot of benefit you can get from that. Might sound like a high percentage, but even though you're understanding 90, that 10% you don't understand, there's a lot of magic in there and you can benefit. Once you found material at your level, you could simply just listen to it. That is an option. Or you can do some form of more active study. The active study could be doing a deep dive on one particular content creator, doing a deep dive on one particular genre of content. It could be making some flashcards and making flashcards with little sentences with the words or phrases you're learning. It could be just looking up unfamiliar words by looking at transcripts or subtitles. It could be writing different sentences out by hand that uses the words and phrases you've learned. If you are going to use a translator, for example, to look up words that you don't know or phrases you don't know, one of my favorite ones, if it offers a language that you're learning, is deepl.com. Deep as in deep water, L like the letter L.com. It is also an app. One of my least favorite translators is Google Translate, although you could still use it. I do use it for certain languages where I can't find other translators. It is still effective, but it's just one of my least favorite ones is all. Okay, wonderful. If you have any questions or comments on this, feel free to contact me. You can visit Azren, thelanguagenerd.com/contact. That's AZ or ZREN, thelanguagenerd.com/contact. You'll find my email, all my social media platforms, everything on that page. So you can contact me however you like to contact people. Okay, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will chat very soon. Bye-bye. See you.